What's going on YouTube? Back with another video. This is going to be a full month of a back testing of my complete strategy. It's a very systematic approach. So what that means is a few things have to happen before we look to take the trade. So I know that helps a lot of people when you have a set criteria of rules. Now, for the month of March, this strategy had a 89% win rate. For the month of April, the strategy had a 69% win rate. And for the month of May, the strategy had a 78% win rate. And for the month of June so far, it's only been 2 days, but we're around 50%, right? So we won one, we lost one. Still have a lot of days left of June to continue to try to keep above that 60% win rate. But we're gonna go over the entire month of March, and if you guys like this video, we can go over April and we can go over May as well. But for the sake of time, we're just going to break down every single day for the month of March and whether or not we would take the trade, how we would take the trade, win or loss. All right, guys, so let's get into it. All right, to start, we're going to make this simple as possible. If you guys want a more fuller breakdown of the strategy in more detail, I do have a link to my course below. So to make this simple, the strategy is a few rules, right? The first one, we're going to be using the first 15-minute candle, right? So it's called the orb strategy. So we take the first 15-minute candle and we look at the high and the low. So we mark out the first 15-minute candles high and low. And then what we want to look for is we want to look for a breakout above or a breakout below. Next, what we want to do is drop down from the 15-minute. We want to go down to the 5-minute time frame. Right, on the 5-minute time frame, we're going to want to get a full 5-minute candle closure above that, above or below that 15-minute orb, right? If it comes down here, we can get a full 5-minute candle closure below, or if it comes up here, we can get a full 5-minute candle closure above, right? So as long as the 5-minute candle closes above either side of the orb, that is when our trade is valid to take. Next, what we want to look for is we want to see some type of displacement, right? Ideally, we want to get another 5-minute candle to move up, right? Create some type of move up, and then look for the pullback. When we drop down to the pullback, we're going to be dropping down to the 1-minute time frame, right? When we drop down to the 1-minute time frame, we're going to be looking for confirmation of that level holding, right? Our first level, or our first confirmation of that level holding is going to be a tap and a candle closure above that level. If we come down and we tap that level without the 1-minute candle closure, you're already breaking the strategy, because a lot of times the trade can get invalidated with a move just breaking straight through that level. Now, there are some exceptions on where we would look to take an entry below the orb, and we're going to get into that in the examples of the back testing. But for right now, I'm just giving you the basics so you have a general idea of when we go into the strategy. Right, so when we get that 1-minute candle tap and closure above this 15-minute candle's high, this line right here, the 15-minute orb, right, we can then look to take the trade with our stop loss is going to be below the 5-minute candle closed, the 5-minute that closed above orb. This all sounds a little confusing, but again, I promise you I'm going to break it down completely in the actual chart. I'm just giving you a general idea of what to look for. Right, so when stop loss is going to be below that, and our take profit is always going to be back up to the high of whatever that rejection happened, right? So when we see that breakout, we see that move, wherever we get that pullback, right, the top of that pullback is going to be where our next target is. A lot of times you can catch runners with a breakout continuation, but really what I'm just looking for is just that move right back up to here, take my base hit, and move on. I trade micros, so I can leave a runner. I always leave around 1 to 2 contracts for a higher target or a different draw, whether it's pre-market high, pre-market low, yesterday's high, yesterday's low, or a 1-hour level that I like to look for. But other than that, majority of the profit is taken back up to wherever we started that pullback. All right, so now that we have the general basics, right, let's go over to the actual chart and we will get started, right? So right now we're on the 1-hour time frame. Let's drop down to the 5, right? And I like to use this indicator called orb 15-minute, and it plots out the first 15-minute candles high and low for you, and it makes it a lot easier, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to play this out, right? Now, what I like to look for again is we're going to take the first 15-minute or the first 5-minute breakout below, right? So for this, ideally, right, we're going to look to take this candle right here, right? You have a full candle closure below our orb, right? And then we're going to look for a retest back into orb, right? We're going to look for our stop loss to be above that 5-minute candle that closed below orb, right? It's tight, right? We're really close to not closing below orb, but we're going to take this 5-minute candle that closed below orb, right? And then we're going to drop down to the 1-minute time frame, and we're going to look for what price does and how price reacts to orb, right? So right here is that 5-minute candle closure that closed below. Let's go back to the 5-minute, right? And then we're going to be looking for something past that point right there, right? We're going to be going here, right? And this is where this 5-minute candle closed right here, right? So now we can look for the next 1-minute candle price to hit, right? And right here, right, price came down. We had a 1-minute candle tap. We wait for the 1-minute candle to close. Price closed below, and we look to form our trade. Our stop loss is back below that 5-minute rejection point, and our take profit, with not much displacement, our take profit needs to be a higher time frame level, right? In this case, ideally, right, we can play off of this 1-minute order block right here, or this, even if you go to the 2-minute time frame, you'll see it a little bit easier. Right here, right? So in this case, you guys can see this is the first down close candle in this nice uptrend, right? So we have a really nice uptrend right up here, right? And this is the first down close candle, and then you see continuation, right? So that's going to be our first target back down to that level right there, right? So as you can see here, we're looking at around a 2.4 risk to reward, right? Looking to make 176 points to lose 73 points, right? And the benefit of waiting for the orb, and the reason you can catch these larger moves in the direction is because a lot of times when you break above or below the first 15-minute opening range, a lot of times that's going to give you the direction of the day. Not every time, but a lot of times you can catch a nice move in that direction once you break that range, right? So that is the trade right there, and we're going to go over another example of the trade here in a second. Even if you came up and you wanted to play it again, right, the same fundamentals apply, right? Price comes up, right? It came up to this level, right? We tapped level, we closed back, we went right through it, right here, as you guys can see, right? We blow right through the level, right? We get back above, and then once we come down, we retest that level again, right? You get this candle closure right here, right? So you could look to take this trade right here. Stop loss still stays above the 5-minute candle that broke through orb, right? And then our target's just going to be back down to this low down here for 129 points, right? So multiple setups within this strategy that you can take. It takes a little while to get there, but eventually we do get there over here, and that is around 1 o'clock, right? So, stop loss was never hit, and the strategy is still in place, right? So let's go to the next day and see what opportunity presents itself. I'm typically done trading within 2 hours of market open. This setup will always, not always, it's either a no trade or it is a trade, and when it is the trade, the setup is going to happen within the first The setup's going to happen within the first 2 hours. After the first 2 hours, I don't like to trade this. I don't like to trade this strategy, and I just move on for the day because the setup just didn't happen, right? So here we're on the next day. Like I said, we're going to go through every single day with this strategy because I don't want to just pick days that work best to show you, right? I want to go through and completely uncut raw, and that way you guys can just go day by day to see how accurate this strategy is. Like I said, for the month of March, we're at a 90% win rate. All right. So when we're looking at this, right, we have our 5-minute candle closure below right here, right? So now anything beyond that on our 5-minute, we can look to frame or short, right? Our stop loss is going to be above here, right? And ideally, we're going to look up to target orb, and our take profit is going to be on a higher time frame level, and we don't have much data as of right now. So let's go back and see what price does. All right, price does not reach orb on the retest. This is very important, right? I do not just take because we're close to orb. I like to see the retest actually hit and the 1-minute candle close, and that gives me the confirmation to take, right? So for this instance right here, this is not a take, just because we didn't quite get up there. Now we can see if price gets up there now, and we'll see what happens, okay? So price came up, we tapped orb, we closed right here, right? As long as we tap orb and we close below, I'm confident in taking the trade, right? So now stop loss still stays the same because we still only have that 1 5-minute candle that closed through it, right? So our stop loss is still going to be up here. And now we actually have a specific target that we can look for, right? Originally, we didn't really have a target because there really wasn't much on the previous days, right? You'd have had to go into a much larger time frame to find your target, but now we have our previous low of day. So I like to target our previous low. So in this instance, I'm going to be targeting around 153 points, right? And risking about 100. Yes, this month was very, very volatile, so that's why the take profit and stop loss are so high. Typically, it's not that high, but we'll allow this to play out. And let's see, did price quite get there? No, price stopped around 15 points shy. If you want to count this as an L, you can. If you're 15 points away from your take profit and you're up 140 points and you don't trim or take, that's on you. For the sake of complete accuracy and wanting to target the low, we will count this as price coming back up and hitting stop loss. But again, take it as you will. If you're up 150 points, to each your own how you handle that trade. I like to manage my trade as we go on, right? So if you look at this in the terms of a dynamic risk to reward, right? When you are all the way down here, right now, your stop loss. You're essentially risking 230 points to only make 23 when you consider dynamic R. So if you're 15 points away from a 150 point take profit, it's good to take and not be super, super greedy. But, again, for the sake of this strategy, we won't count it just because 9 times out of 10, we're going to come down and we're going to hit the exact take profit. But I just want to be super transparent, and we'll just go from that. All right, let's play this out, and we'll go to the next day. But as you guys can see, the mechanics are all there, man, and it works really, really well. And it's pretty exciting to kind of show you guys. All right, so here is the next day. Excuse me. So here you see a lot of range, and this is the importance of allowing candle to close above or below, guys, right? This is on the following day. If you guys look on the 1 minute time frame, and if we're just like staring at this on the higher time frame, right? You're going to look at the 1 minute time frame, you're going to say, oh, it's broken. Like, we'll take the retest and go, right? Or down here, price broke. Let's take the retest here and let it go, right? But if you go to the 5 minute time frame, and trust me, I've done all the back testing on the lower time frames. The five minute time frame gives you the most confidence and the highest win rate, right? When you do not have a candle closure above or below, there's no point in taking the trade, right? So right here, you do not get either, and then this is just range bound. When it's range bound, right, you need to wait for the range to be broken, or it's just going to continuously chopping around and you're going to get screwed up, right? So let's play this through, and we'll see if we get a 5 minute candle closure below. So here in this case, we get our 5 minute candle closure below. Now we're going to look for any type of shorts beyond that point, right? Our stop loss. So here's another thing. Here's one discretion there's 2 of them, and we're going to get to the other one when it comes close. When you have a 5 minute candle that is very, very close to your orb, I typically like to take the previous 5 minute candle closure, right? On the previous examples, right, we had around 100 points of wiggle room. I think it was like 100 some points of wiggle room to our 5 minute high for the candle that broke, right? Now here, if you took this candle that broke, you're really only giving yourself 20 points of wiggle room, which is okay. Ideally, we're going to be looking for 63 points. So if you want to open that up a little bit, I personally, if it's around 20 point stop loss, I'm going to look to open it up, especially if I'm willing to make 63 or looking to make 63. Right, I'm going to open it up to the previous 5 minute candle just because it gives me more room. Again, it's a discretion thing, so it's not like a complete, do it or not. It's completely up to you. But I want to give myself a little bit more room because this just isn't as, it's a little bit tight. All right. So now we look for a retest back up to that level, and we will see what price does. Another example of price coming close to orb but not quite hitting it, right? And a lot of times people get trapped up about that, right? It gets close, and you want to try to take it, and you just don't. Now, here's an absolutely fantastic example of waiting for a 1 minute candle closure below orb. Now, this is frustrating to trade. Just because, again, you get close to orb and you can't take it because it doesn't tap it, right? But with here, we come up, what do? Right? And we blow right through orb, right? So for me, this is a no trade, right? Because again, we have to see a 1 minute candle closure tap, reject, and then that 1 minute candle close right below orb, and then you're willing to take. With here, right, this saves you an instant stop loss of 40 points, right? Waiting for price to get that candle closure. All right, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, we'll play this out and we'll just see if price gets back below and see if there's even an opportunity, and price does not. Price just continues to run higher, right? So as far as the orb on the lower side, right, on the bottom of the orb, there's no trade. Now, it does look like there's a trade presented on the upper side of orb, right? So let's look at that. So we have the 5 minute time frame right here, right? This is where our stop loss would be, right? We have our 5 minute candle closure above, right? Now we're going to look from anything beyond that point, right, to go long. Let's see here, right? Bam, right? Stop loss is going to be below the 5 minute candle that closed below, right? Again, it's 25 points. You do you. You know, if you want to open this up to even more to the previous 5 minute candle, you can, as long as you're targeting at least 1-to-1, right? If you're not targeting 1-to-1, and let's say you're only going to target back up to this high up here, right? And let's say you're going to go from here, and you know, if you're going to look to target 40 points, right, keep your stop loss at 26, right? We want to be smart about this, but if you're looking to if you're willing to target higher, you have to be able to adjust your risk to that. All right, so then we're going to go to the 1 minute time frame, and we're going to see what happens, right? Anything beyond where this point starts, because this is where that 5 minute candle closed above. Right here is where we close. So anything beyond that point, we look to take our entry. So we get a nice move down to orb right here. We get that nice candle closure above, right? So we look to take the trade right here, right, on this candle right here, and target back up to the high. Right, because again, whatever that high is that rejects to make that pullback, that's where we like to target. And then our runners are going to be with a move higher, right? So price comes up, comes back down, and continues higher, right? And stop loss is never hit, right? So this, if you wanted to wait around for the trade to make this trade around 1 o'clock, this is a perfect setup, right? All right, moving on. This video, we're already at 16 minutes, so we got plenty of time. I want to try to show you guys as much as I can, because I want you guys to be able to get an idea of this strategy. And again, guys, while we wait for the next day to load in, I trade this exact way every single day live with my community. There's a 3-day free trial right now if you guys want to tap in and, you know, have some confidence and trade with me every single day when following this strategy, and then you guys can start developing the strategy and start absolutely killing it. All right, so here, where's our 5 minute candle closure? Our 5 minute candle closure is going to be right here. So anything beyond that point, we can look to take. Right, stop loss is going to be below this low here at 70 points. And ideally, take profit's going to be up here at that high if we do get a rejection. And let's just see if we even get back down. And by this point, I'm personally done. Because again, 2 hours in the market open, it's just a no trade day for me. If you are staying around, we'll just see what happened. But for me, it's a no trade day because again, past 11:30, I'm not really looking to take a trade. Now, in this case, with such a high, large move, right, I like to take like the previous highs, like up into here. So like my take profit, if I were to take this trade, would be up into here, up into this candle up here. Instead of targeting all the way back up to the full high, I would look to just take around here. It still gives you that 2-to-1, right? So where would you take this trade? All right, price bounce off of this candle. Again, you would take it off of whatever candle that holds. So price bounced and held, and price closed above. So this would be a valid trade setup. Again, it's just beyond my trading hours. And that's kind of why, because the win rate does lower once you get past around 2 hours market open. You know, this trade setup hit 3 hours past market open. But again, I'm just not looking to take that because majority of the time, the win rate weakens past the first 2 hours. But again, you do you. Another thing that I would say, if you trade later and you still want to trade this strategy, that's fine. But one thing I would say is with all of this movement up here, chop, 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 right? By the time we get down to here, right, the direction of the day is probably already confirmed, and you already kind of missed that first big volume move. All right. Let's just see possibly if it would have played on the bottom side of orb, if you are a later trader. So let's go to the 5-minute time frame again. All right. What do you see? Right. We see our setup form. We have a 5-minute candle closure. Right. So again, anything beyond that point, we can look to take a short. Stop loss is going to be above that candle that breaks that orb. Right, and then we're going to look to target back down to the low. So here we got a 51 stop loss and a 61 take profit. And you guys can see here, it hits really, really well. Price comes up, taps orb, closes, right? So you would look to take this trade right here, and then you would look to just target back down to this low. And look what happens, it hits really, really well for 60 points, right? So it does work later in the afternoon. But again, I just don't trade it. But again, if you're a later trader, it's still valid. This was just a losing trade setup. All right, moving on. Next day, as you guys, you guys can see, right? A lot of consistency in this strategy. It works very, very well. And if the good thing is, the reason that I absolutely love this strategy is because I was the type of trader that, you would take 100 trades a day, 100 trades a day, and you would really, really struggle. And that was me. And then when I would lose, I would strategy hop and things like that. What I love about this strategy is it's typically just one trade a day, unless you're feeling frisky and you want to take 2 trades a day. Typically, it's one trade a day, and if the opportunity doesn't present itself, then there's just no trades and you just walk away, right? And I had the biggest struggle with being able to just walk away because I didn't really have an edge in the market, and I had zero discipline as well, right? And I didn't really have an edge, so I was just like taking random trades, and I didn't really trust the system. Now I trust the system. I've done the work. I've done the back testing. So I can just kind of sit back and allow the price to do its thing. I can sit back and say, okay, if this opportunity isn't here, I'm not going to take it. And if I take an L, I move on because I know that over the long term, this system is profitable, right? So if I know that it's profitable and I take a loss, it's not going to bother me. Obviously, it sucks to lose, but it's like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to make it, and the next day I'm going to make it back, and you know what I mean. But when you don't know that you have a profitable system, a loss stings because you don't know when you're going to get that next win. Make sense? All right, moving on. All right, guys. So 5-minute candle closure above right here. Bam. We're going to go long. Anything beyond that point, stop loss is going to be below that low. All right. And ideally, we want to look to target a 1-to-1. So ideally, we're going to look to target around 50 points. All right. Anything beyond that point, you get that candle closure, right? All right. Boom. What do we see here? This is a really, 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 really good lesson that all of you need to learn. I'm glad this came up. So anything beyond this candle closure, price closed above here. This is the 5-minute candle that closed. What does the next candle do? The next candle breaks below orb, right, on the retest. So for me, personally, that's not a valid trade anymore, right, because we didn't tap and hold, right? What ended up happening on the next candle is we closed below, right? We closed below, and then the next candle breaks. So if you're feeling frisky and you want to take this, I don't like it because I would then need to wait for a retest back to orb, right? So if in this situation is, okay, our 5-minute candle closed right here, price came down, we didn't hold, right? The next candle held and closed above. If you were willing to take this, I would look for a retest here and a candle hold, and then I would look to target higher, right? So in this case, it would be this candle right here would be the retest back down. And what does it do? Price rise blows right through level. We don't get that 1-minute candle closure above. All right, does that make sense? I know it's a YouTube video, so I can't ask live questions, but I hope that makes sense to you guys. And if it doesn't, just leave a question in the comment and just tag the time of whatever this video is at, and I'll make sure to answer you guys. But right, that is the idea, right? If we close below and then get back above, right, we need to see another retest and a hold. And in this case, this would have been the retest, and then you would have just targeted back up to this high, still kept stop loss the same, and it just never held. All right, so no trade, zero trade right there. Now, let's see in this situation. I'm already telling you right now, in this situation, it's the exact same thing. Because look, we go to the 5-minute time frame, right? This would be your candle closure, because this is the point where price gets through. So you would have your stop loss above here, right? Target would be back down to the low, right? So let's go to the 1 minute time frame, and it's the exact same thing. Price just comes through and just blasts through level. Now let's see if price does get back down below and then retest higher, right? Okay, price came back down. We look for that retest. All right, there's your retest, right? So if you wanted to take this right here, you could, right? You could look to take this trade right here. Here's come down, retest level, and we closed, right? So you could take this. Risk to reward's a little iffy, but that's not too bad. It's around a 142. I would probably look to move stop loss above this wick high, right? And I would look to target the low and keep it 1-to-1. All right, I talk very quick there, so I hope you guys understand. All right, price blew right through, right? No trade. Price came back down, closed under. That's what we want to see. Retested, tapped orb, and then closed back under again, right? And that's where we can look to take our trade, right? And then look to target back down to the low, and we'll see if it hits. And price hit, right? So you guys can see it's a very similar situation, but in this case, when we retested, we didn't hold. And then in this case, when we retested, we held. Does that make sense to everyone? Hopefully it does. That is the idea of the strategy. And again, you know, your stop loss is going to be above this wick, right? Because this is that high that it made. And then your target just back down to the low, where we saw that reversal to get higher, right? And you walk away with 100 points there. All right, moving on. I don't want to keep this video too long because I know a lot of people get kind of bored just watching back testing, but I want to try to get in as many days as possible just to show you guys the importance of this. Okay. All right, next trade, 5 minute candle closure below, right? Stop loss, anything beyond that point, you can look to take a trade. Stop loss is gonna be above that candle high. All right, price comes up. What happens, right? Price comes up. We do not get the reject, right? What do? We blow right through it, right? And then what happens? We come back down. Do we ever get a retest? Nope, right? So for me, no trade. And I know it's frustrating. You're going to see this real time. You're going to get frustrated, right? But I promise you, you have to wait for the retest. If the retest doesn't hold, then the trade's not valid because a lot of times you'll just blow right through it. And if you guys, if you guys have ever seen this, right, move up, come back down, we get a little bit below level, right? People are like, oh, let me take it. And then boom, it just is the next leg up. That's what we do. That's what we want to eliminate when we wait for the retest back down. Reject has to reject and then has to close back below, right? Because a lot of times you will get that next leg higher. All right, so no trade on this, and price just does its thing and runs. All right, no trade on that day, and we move on. Right, it's important to be able to just walk away when the trade doesn't present itself. And I know it's frustrating because you're going to see this real time. You're going to be like, oh my God, I could have caught that. And then you're going to break your rules the next day. It's just what happens with everyone. All right, moving on. No trade. The setup was not there. And that's why I love this strategy is because there's just a certain amount of things that have to happen, before you take the trade. And that's why I absolutely love it. All right, let's go. Price goes below. Anything beyond that point, we can look to take a trade. Stop loss is going to be below that wick there. And for the sake of, since we already see what has happened, right, stop loss, price closed below here, right? So we're going to look to take anything beyond this point. Again, what's the rule? I like to move price higher to, because there's not much room here, right? We only have 10 points of wiggle room. It's tough. So I'm going to move price up to this next previous candle here. So it's 91 points of risk. So ideally, what do we want to do? We at least want to target 1-to-1. All right, so now let's go to the 1 minute time frame. Let's go over both of these and see if they are valid. All right. Alrighty. So price comes down right here, right? What do we see? Price comes up, comes back down. Anything beyond this point right here, we can look to take a long. If you look closely, price does not tap orb right here. So, right, there's no trade because we never came down and tapped it. When we tap it is here and we never held it. So there's a no trade right there. Same thing here. We get back down below. What happens? We move up. We look to take the retest. This would be a perfect example of kind of what we've gone over. Move up, come back down, hold here, and then we move higher. What do we see? We don't see that, right? We see price come up, and then we see price just close back below. Right, so there's a no trade here to the upside, but is there one on the downside? right? Let's see if price does its thing on the downside, right? Price comes down here. It's very, very similar, right? We barely miss orb right here. Again, I'm personally am just so picky with this strategy that I just won't take it, right? Because I want to see price get literally exact. You know, if you would have done it here, it probably would have worked, to be honest with you, right? Because you could have taken price here, right? You could have targeted back up to the high for 30 points. In this case, right, it's the exact same thing. If you wanted to take that, price comes up, right? You close down here, right? You would take the short here, and then you would just target back down to the low for 50 points. It's up to you. I'm just so picky with the strategy that I just sit back and wait. And I want the exact level to be hit. But again, you play you. So in this case, again, what happens, guys? We come up, we get through, we don't get that retest on this next candle right here, right? I want to try to get rid of this, right? You don't get that retest here, right? And you just make the move, and then you come up here, and then you blow right through it, right? So again, depending on how picky you are, you could have made 30 points here, and you could have made 50 points here. I'm just going to wait for the exact level to be tapped. I know, I suck. It's annoying, but that's just how I do it. All right, let's go to the 5-minute day. 5 minute. I'm going to go to the following day. All right, let's go to the 1 minute. Oh, sorry, let's go to the 5 minute. Sorry, this is completely uncut, guys, right? This is completely uncut. All right, 5 minute time frame, candle closure right here. So the reason I look for which candle is the closure, because that's where my stop loss needs to be, right? So my stop loss is going to be here. And in this case, it's freaking close, and that's pretty cool because I want to show you guys that, right? So let's go here, 1 minute time frame. All right, look how close this is to coming back and hitting your stop loss. But when you trust your system and you trust your position sizing, you're okay. Like, you're fine because you know, all right, that stop loss is in there for a reason, right? It's because my system makes it there, puts it there, right? So when price comes up, what do we see? Move down, right? Here's our entry off of this candle right here. Why? Because we tap orb and we close below it, right? So then we look to take that candle closure, right? Instantly goes against us, right? But our stop loss is placed in a perfect position where it doesn't hit our stop loss, and then price comes back down and then hits our full target, right? It's a lot of one-to-one trading, in my opinion. This is above a 60, most of the time it's above a 70% win rate, right? 69% win rate, 77% win rate, and 88% win rate, right? You can keep a one-to-one and be extremely profitable, right? So look what happens. Again, one-to-one, right? Barely missed stop loss, price comes back down and hits our low. Bam, right there. Right, big win, an hour and a half into market open. Sorry, an hour into market open, and you're done. All right, money, absolute money. Excuse me. All right, moving on to the next day. We are sitting at 30 minutes. You guys can chill. Y'all are probably enjoying this. You know, just seeing how well the strategy works, and then hopefully excited to go implement it in your own strategy. All right. All right. Where does price close below? Price closes below here. Bam. So anything after this point is your stop loss. Right. Target would be back down to this low. It's a crazy good risk to reward. All right. What do we see? Again, the importance of waiting for price to tap on the 1 minute, close below. Right. What happens here? Price runs right through it, and we close above, and then we make that move higher. Right, bam, make that move higher. Look, now, can you play it again? Sure. Now we look at the next 5 minute candle that gets back below orb. And what's the next 5 minute candle that gets back below orb? Right here, bam, right there. Stop loss is going to be moved to here, 33 points. And target's going to be moved back down to this low. Right, again, crazy risk reward, around 4.4 point risk reward. Excuse me. Me personally, you can go to low of day, but I personally just move it to here. And why is that? Is because this is the low. When we break through orb, this is the low that reverses and turns to then create that pullback, right? And I just like targeting that pullback. To me, that just makes the most sense. So in this case, bam, 33 points of risk for 70 points of take profit. And look what happens. You hit it. Let's just see if you would come down to that low of day. And you would. So, you know, you did miss out on an extra 70 points. But again, I mean, if you're hitting 70 points in a trade and you're mad that you didn't hit 140, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't say grow up because good for you, but like grow up. Be happy with 70-point win when you're only risking 30 points. That's a great trade, right? But again, guys, the opportunities present itself quite a bit, and you just have to be able to act on it, and you have to be very disciplined. You have to wait for the candle closures and things like that. All right, let's move on. All right, next day. All right, this one already looks like an L. You get this candle closure right here. Bam. So anything beyond that point, I can't say it looks like an L quite yet because we don't know if our 1 minute held above. But this is the setup that would be 25. Ideally, I'd want to look to target 25 points because again, if this is where our stop loss is, our risk, our take profit at least should be a 1-to-1. All right. So anything beyond that point of the 5-minute candle closure, you would look to take, and actually, we don't even get an entry because of how well our system is, right? So here's the 5-minute candle closure above, right? Price comes back down, right? What happens? We don't ever get that retest and a hold, so there's a no trade, right? Because our system is, trust me guys, I've done the backtesting enough to know what works and what doesn't work. You just have to follow it. All right, you have to follow it, and you have to be able to make sure that you're sticking to it, right? And again, 1 minute candle closures above do a lot. I hate trading on the 1 minute. I do. I hate it. As soon as I get that entry, as soon as I get that precise 1 minute entry, back on the 5, right? And then I allow my trade to work on the 5 because I hate the 1 minute time frame. It always shakes me out. It scares me. I can't stand it. But to get that precise entry, I do it on the 1 minute. All right. I didn't mean to mention that because it's very important. All right. So let's see if this trade presents itself. Again, anything beyond this candle right here is going to be our potential entry. So 60 points of risk. At the moment, our take profit's only 40 points. Ideally, let's just say, you want to target to a higher level. So we'll go like 100 points. In the case of, let's say my high that pulled back, is lower than what I'm risking, right? So in this case, it's 40 points of potential profit to 60 points of risk. I personally will look to see my full target to be 1-to-1, but if we get back up to that high, I will scale within under 1-to-1. Okay, I will scale within under 1-to-1, and then as soon as I scale, my stop loss goes break even anyways. But ideally, you want to start taking the profit at the point where you reject, right? Because that's obviously where a lot of sellers are, right? So we'll play this through, see if we get the move. Perfect. Price comes down. We tap orb perfectly. Bam. Entries right here on the candle closure above. And in this case, 60 points does get hit. But again, I would have been scaling out here at around 40 points. But full take profit does get hit. And I don't even know what price does. Price most likely goes up to the previous day's levels, like up into here. And that's what it does. All right. Money, 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 money. Absolute banger right here of around 60 points. No trade and 60 points. So really cool stuff, guys. I'm telling you. Do the work. Put in the work. Strategy works really, really well. And if you guys want to come trade with this live with me every single day, again, 3-day free trial. And I trade this exact way every single day. All right, moving on. All right, no break as of right now. All right, here you do get a break. All right, so again, same stuff, guys. Same stuff. All right, stop loss below here. Right, take profit. Ideally back down to this low. Right, see if we can get a 1-to-1. All right, this so far is an L, and I'll explain to you why. Right, price comes up, taps orb, right? So entry would be right here. Bam, that's entry, right? We don't quite get to that level. Again, I know a lot of people are like, oh man, it's close, but dude, the system is the system, right? We want to try our first scale, and our first take profit is going to be back down to whatever that point of where it made the reversal. So unfortunately, we never got down there, right? So right here, we got to 18 points. Our target was 24, right? We were close, right? And ideally, we want to look for 30, but this is going to be our first scale right here, right? We were close. We only hit here, but price comes back up and then stops us out, right? So this is like our first loss in a while, right? Since we've gone over this strategy, right? It's our first loss in a while, and we were in profit But again, I don't move stop loss to break even until I scale, right? So if we would have gotten back down to here, back down to the low, I would have scaled, and then my stop loss would have been moved to break even. All right, money. So that's a 30.0. But if you notice, guys, most of the take profits we're hitting are 60, 40, 50, 100. Most of the losses we're hitting are max of like 40 or 50, right? All right. Same thing. I'm sure this is getting repetitive, but it's just important. It's important, man. It's important to show you guys the power of this strategy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if someone else trades like this, but this is just me coming up with this from a lot of backtesting and struggling and failing and going through a million different systems and failing, right? And really understanding how well this order works. I would just take the first retest. I'd get blown. It would go right through the level, and I'd be out. I wouldn't wait for the 5-minute candle closure, and then it would just reverse right back up, right? So a lot of trial and error in this case. But yeah. All right, same thing. I'm sure it's getting repetitive at this point, guys, but same thing. Price comes back down, rejects, candle closure, stop loss up here, right? Bam, 68 points to the T. Done. Done within an hour, right? Perfect. All right, moving on. I really hope this video gets out there, man, because I think this is going to help so many people, but we'll see. I hope it gets out there. YouTube's interesting. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, and it is what it is. All right, so in this case, I can already tell there looks like a no trade type of day, but, again, we'll just go through it. Yeah, no trade type of day. 5-minute candle closes right above here, right, and we don't quite get there, right? We miss an absolute banger of a day by 5 points, but strategy is a strategy, guys. You know what I'm saying? Looking at this right now, if I watch this run without me, I would just take an order block retest, most likely. So let's just see if price gets back down. Let's see if it would have worked on orb, actually. It would have worked on orb. This strategy is so good. This strategy is so good. Oh my goodness, dude. Oh my goodness, the strategy is so different. And you know what's even crazier? The craziest part about it is you wouldn't have even had any down draw, right? And I'll explain to you why. Right, if we're looking at this strategy, right, price comes back down, right? What happens when we tap orb? We close below it, so we don't take an entry, right? Price comes back up. Let me get rid of this. Right, price comes here. We get below orb. We don't get an entry. Price comes up. We blow right through it. Right, so we don't see any of this down draw. Any of it. None. None. Bam. Price gets up. We get a move above. We retest. Right. We close above. Right. Entries here. And then you get an instant rip all the way back up to the high. Crazy work. 90 points. There's a reason that these rules are in place. It's insane. I'm low-key kind of proud. In the most humblest way possible. I've been struggling for a very long time with finding a specific strategy that specific trade that doesn't have much discretion, if that makes sense, right? A lot of strategies out there, a lot of them are just like, there's so many different things that have to happen, and it's so confusing, and a lot of it's just like up to you to decide. Yes, you're the one pressing the buttons, and you're the one that has to wait, but like it's so specific. This strategy for an entry and where your stop loss is in place is so systematic, and your entry is, it's just, you just follow the rules. You might be able to find quite a bit of success. All right. And then just not getting emotional, right? And then not veering off from the strategy. It's very, very important. Trust me, guys. I've been through it all. Futures I've made a lot of money on futures, but I've lost a lot of money on futures, and it's not fun at all. All right. Until you get a completely awesome strategy. All right, price closed back above here, right? So we'd look for any retest. Stop loss is going to be below here. Bam, 28 points. I love gap fill, so that's going to be my first target. When you see a regular trading hours gap fill, target is 57 points. Risk is 28. Again, let's go to the system. Let's go to the 1 minute time frame. Anything beyond this candle right here, right? We can look to take a long. As you guys can see here, right? Price comes up, we tap, we hold, right? Bam, that's our entry. And where's our take profit? Up to here. Boom, 52 points. Instant rip. All right, moving on. That was a quick one. And again, a lot of times this happens. Right, price will continue to go in the direction, but it doesn't matter, right? We just want to capitalize on our move. All right, this video is long, guys. This video is an hour long, but I wanted to go over every single day in March because this was the most profitable. Again, the next 2 months, it's not like they weren't profitable. They were 69% and 77%, but I'm going to show you guys the 90% month. I mean, again. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right, same thing. Anything beyond this point, we look to take it long. Stop loss is going to be here. All right, take profit is going to be back up to whatever potential high. Go to the 1 minute time frame. So anything beyond this point, we look to take it long. As you can see here, price comes down, we hold, right? We hold that level, right? Bam. We can look to take back up to this high right here. Oh, shit. Take back up to this high right here, 27 points. Again, you're risking 41 to only make 27, but 27 is going to be your scale, and then you move stop loss to break even, right? So very, very important as well. 27 points is your scale because you back up to whatever high pulled this back down to orb. So here was the high that pulled back down to orb, right? So that's going to be whenever we get to that point, that's our scale. And then as soon as we scale, this just goes to break even. And I've made that clear many, many times before this, before we got to this point, right? And then obviously, you allow your runners to go 1-to-1 or higher. Okay. So in this case, bam, you scaled 27 points, and then, you did end up hitting that 1-to-1, right? Because we were risking 40 points, and then bam, you hit 1-to-1 like to a T, which is crazy. And then price came back down, and then would have hit stop loss if you never scaled at all. All right, money. Moving on, another winning trade of 28 points. Runners up to 40. Again, it's just so. I don't know. I guess the correct word is systematic. It's just very. If this happens, you do this. If this doesn't happen, you don't do this. Right. That's what's amazing about this. Right. Moving on. Bam. Right. Anything beyond this point, stop loss here. Right. Take profit here. Bam. So it's in the exact same situation, right? Scales are going to be 30 points, right? Runners are going to at least go 1-to-1, right? So, bam, let's go up. Let's do here. Stop loss, 30 points. Sorry, I had it skewed anyways. I had it messed up anyways, right? Take profit, 46 points here. Stop loss is 30, right? Again, first take profit is going to be where it rejected to go down to orb, right? What do you see here? Price came down, price tapped orb and held, right? You see a little bit of down draw. It's okay because we trust our system. You see 18 points of down draw. Doesn't matter. We trust our system. And then, boom, what happens? Price goes up, smacks 46 points. And you just sit back and you let it happen. That's the best part. You just sit back and you let it happen, no matter what. Your stop loss is in place. Your take profit's in place. Bam. All right? You let that shit happen. All right, moving on. It's just exciting, man. The strategy is just really, really fun. And what's funny is the time of recording this video, I did take a loss on this strategy. But again, it's not going to work every single day. But I don't care. That's why I don't care. I don't care that I took a loss because I know over time the strategy works, right? So if I take a loss, it's just bound to happen because yesterday we hit a bigger winner. Yesterday was a 40-point winner and today was a 35-point loser, right? The strategy is bound to work. And if you take a loss, you just can't go on tilt. You just walk away, right? Where you get screwed and where you lose money is if you say, oh my God, the strategy lost. Let me go veer off from the strategy and let me go scalp again. I'm telling you right now, I used to scalp in the 1 minute and I would take 100 trades a day and I would be big in green, I'd be big in red, and then I'd finish the day break even, but with all the commission, I'd be down like $700, but I'd be break even. It's not worth it. It's not worth your mental capital. This, I feel great because if I take a loss, I know that my strategy works and I'm done and I move on, right? And I know about come back tomorrow, and if it loses tomorrow, I don't really care because I know the next day it's most likely going to win, right? All right, moving on. Next. I'm just very passionate about this just because I've failed so many times. And I know it freaking sucks, right? Boom. This is what the candle that broke. Stop loss is going to be below that candle. 1 minute candle. Anything beyond that point, you can look to take your long. So here, bam. So you would take your long on this retest right here. Because again, what happens? Candle taps, you enter right here. You do see down draw. You see, oh shit, hold on, sorry. You see 15 points of down draw, but our stop loss is in place for a reason, right? So again, this high is going to be up here for 10 points, right? If you want to scale, you can. 10 points is like absolutely nothing. So for me, I'm not going to scale at 10 points, but based on the strategy, right, this is where you should scale, right? Back up that previous high. But for me, right, if I'm looking to only risk 20 points, I'm at least going to look for 20 points. I would hope that in the direction of the move, if we're breaking out of orb and we do get an aggressive move, we can at least get 20 points and at least get 1-to-1. And that's what it does before it sells back off. And then if you hold this thing through the entire time, I mean, you're catching a really nice move. And if you're targeting a higher time frame level, that's up to you to decide. That's up for you to go back and back test if using a higher term level for a target works. For me, just hitting base hits is what works for me, right? And that's all that matters. It's whatever works for you. All right, moving on. Oh man. Let's see. Moving on to the next day, guys. We're almost done. This is March 26th. We are almost done. I promise you. We only got a couple more days to go over, and hopefully I finish this within an hour. As my dog's squeaking. Again, this is uncut. I'm not gonna cut this. I'm not gonna edit him out. This doesn't even hit anyways, right? I'm just gonna show you guys that it doesn't. Right? Price the 5-minute candle closes through, and you never get a retest. Hey, stop. And you never get a retest right here. Bam. So this one does not work. So we'll go to the next day. No, not that it doesn't work. Sorry, it's just a no trade type of day, right? Because the 5-minute would show a retest and it doesn't. So no trade type of day, and look, a massive move down. What's up, buddy? All right, moving on. All right, same thing. Anything beyond this point right here, you can look to take a long. Stop loss is going to be here. Again, super, super tight, 10 points. I'm not going to look to take 10 points. I'm willing to take the larger stop loss here on 70 points because I understand I have a target at least up to here to 30 points. But if you want to target a 1-to-1, you can. Again, targeting that gap fill. It's just too tight, right, guys? It's too tight to only risk 10 points here, right? It's unfortunate that the next candle previous is all the way down here to 70 points. That's tough. But 10 points it's just too tight, right? And we went over this earlier again, right? So everything I'm doing now is what we've already talked about. So I don't want you to be like, oh, he's adjusting the system based off of what the chart looks like. I'm not. We literally went over this, right? So I do it the next previous candle if it's too tight. Again, that's up to you. And ideally, guys, again, you want to at least target a 1-to-1 or what makes sense, right? If a 1-to-1 doesn't make sense, and you want to scale at a previous high or you want to scale at a gap fill, I'm not going to be the one to tell you not to, right? Yeah, are you risking 70 points and you're scaling at 34? Is that a profitable? No, but if you have a crazy high win rate and the system works, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. You know what I mean? So you do you. Ideally, you want to look to at least target 1-to-1. So let's go to the 1-minute time frame and obviously break it down, right? So price moves up, right? Anything beyond this candle right here, because this is where the 5-minute candle closed, anything beyond is an entry, right? You don't get that candle closure yet. Boom, you come back down, retest, boom, candle closure, right? So you would look to enter off of these candles right here. You do see quite a bit of down draw, and it takes a while to hit that move, but eventually you do get that move up. And again, system works, right? System works. Okay, moving on. Just trying to make this last couple days quick. All right. Another example of a no trade type of day. Because you guys can see here, right? I mean, yeah, to me, this candle, I guess, closes below the 5, and we can just look at it just to see. But that's pretty tight. There's a good chance that I wouldn't take that just because, it closed below orb by literally 0.5, so 2 ticks. That's just tough for me, but we'll go over it for the sake of the strategy. I think I need a little bit more closure below that level. I think that's a little bit tight. 2 ticks. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Would it have worked? Maybe. I guess you could have came down here, broken, right? It closed under. This was the retest that closed back under. So you could look to take an entry like that. But yeah, to me, it's just not worth it. So again, no trade type of day. That's the important thing, man. If this doesn't, if you're not comfortable with the trade that's presenting itself, just don't trade, right? Like, again, it's hard. Like, I trust me, I get it. I've been the person that trades so many times, or trades. You know, if I feel like there's not a trade available, like I need to take one, and it's really hard to walk away for the day and not take one, but it's gonna help you. Promise you. Promise you. Promise you. Promise you. All right. So stop loss is gonna be below this low. We're risking 42 points. Play this out. Go to the 1 minute time frame. All right, you would take this entry right here. Why? Wait, actually, hold on. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, you would take that entry right there. Why? Because it's beyond that 5 minute candle closure right here, and price tapped and held above. So you would look to take that entry, and you would just target back up to the high, and you would have around a 1-to-1, and see if it works. And it works. Shocker, right? Bam, 1-to-1. Bam, smacks 40 points. All right, moving on. If you guys are still here, if you are still here in this video, please comment. What do you want me to comment? Comment Star Wars. Comment Star Wars if you all are still here. Big Star Wars guy. So comment Star Wars if you're still in this video. We are about 55 minutes in, and if you guys are still in here, then I know y'all are the real ones, and I know y'all actually do want to make a change. And y'all want to make some money, man, and that's the goal. I promise you this will help. I promise you this will help, and I'll help. Like I said, guys, I have a 3-day free trial for my community, yeah, come trade with us, come learn, and yeah, the link is going to be in the description below. All right, moving on. All right, anything beyond this point would be a take. Stop loss is here. All right, let's go back to the 1 minute time frame. Same thing, y'all know the deal. And you would stop out here. This would be a loser. Right? First loser in a while. All right. Why? Because anything beyond that point, you would take, bam, price hit, price closed above right here. This would be your entry right here. And price never gets back up to the scaling point to where you can even move break even. Right? The only time you move price break even is when you get to the scaling point. The only time you scale is when you get to the point of where we reject to then make that pullback. All right? Very, very important. So here, yes, are you up 17 points? Sure. But you're not moving price to break even until you scale, right? So this would be a loser, right? And you would take a 48-point loss. And it is what it is, guys. Because again, I mean, what did we make last time? We made 50 points. The day before that, we made 65 points. The day before that, we made 25 points, right? So you just have to position yourself accordingly, right? So very, very important. Before I wrap this up, the good thing is when you go into this trade, your stop loss changes every single time, and you know exactly where your stop loss is, no matter what, whenever you take the trade. If you notice that your stop loss is at 50 points and you can't handle a 50-point stop loss on one mini, right? And what is that? That's $1,000, right? Drop down to 5 micros, right? $500 stop loss, right? If you're in a trade and it presents itself and it's at 30 points and you're like, you know what? I can take $600 of risk, right? To potentially make $700, $800. I'm going to trade this a mini and go from there, right? That's what's so nice is your stop loss is already predetermined before you even hit enter. Right? That's what's amazing is you know what your stop loss is before you make your position sizing. So just don't be dumb, right? So just don't be dumb. And position size appropriately. Guys, I'm giving you sauce here, man. Again, if you guys do enjoy this, please like, comment if you're still here again, and subscribe. It'll help. I'm trying to kind of get out there in the YouTube world, in the trading world. So it would be pretty cool if you guys showed some love. All right? All right. All right, stop loss is here, 62 points. Take profit. What do we like to see? We love a good gap fill, right? What's the gap? Here's the gap fill. Up here to 68 points. As I was recording this, I realized we were cutting into April, so I just want to stop at March anyways. But this has been around 50-some minutes, so if you guys are still here, remember, comment down below. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, 89% win rate for the month of March using this strategy. Very systematic approach. If the few rules that aren't there, then you just don't take the trade and you just walk away for the day. And then other than that, guys, the only other rule you have to remember is scaling at wherever the point, wherever the high or the low that makes that move a reversal back down to orb. Once you get back up to that, that's your first scale. SL break even once you scale. And then runners go to higher time frame targets, like in this specific example, goes up to gap fill right here. Or, you know, if you like to target a fair value gap or a 1 hour time frame or whatever you want to target. But again, those are the rules. 5-minute candle closure above or below orb. 1-minute candle closure above or below orb. And then you look to take your entry. Stop loss and take profit are already fixed. Don't touch anything and allow the price to move. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys want to see more, and I can go through and backtest April and May. If you want to see more, make sure to comment down below. And I'll see you guys again. Again, 3-day free trial in the link in the description. Come watch us trade. Come get the exact same trades that we take. And I'll see you guys there. Peace.